Hey everybody, Professor Snart checking in here. Okay, so we're just getting underway with our second 8-week English 1130. That's the Intro to Lit class. So it's Monday when I'm recording this, Monday morning. So that's our first due date, which we'll look at in just a sec. So hopefully you've had a chance to obviously log in, look through some of the generic kind of syllabus stuff, watch the orientation video, kind of get you settled in the course a little bit. And this is much more along the lines of the shorter, like very informal little video check-ins that I'll do throughout the term. They're not really meant to be lectures or anything kind of like content like that, so much as just keeping us on track by walking you through kind of where we're at, what we're covering. So it's really like reminding you of certain things that are going on in the course rather than, again, lecturing like important information at you or anything like that. Okay, so we'll check our due date since it's always good to know what is right around the corner and then what of course is on the horizon for us. So we're looking at finishing up Unit 1 by this Monday, October 17th due date, reminding you that there's always, for discussion boards anyway, there are going to be 2 separate due dates, one for initial posts, one for replies to give people time to like post and then reply so it's not all happening at once necessarily or everyone's trying to do it at the last minute. So whatever the due date is, by noon, you'll have to have your initial reply in, your first post, and then the replies due by the end, literally the end of that day. I want to encourage people, obviously, to not wait until right up against that due date. So it's not a self-paced course in as much as you can just burn through it as fast as possible. But certainly there's flexibility between the units, or within the units, I should say, between the due dates, for you to post like before that absolute final due date deadline for whether it's initial post, reply, assignments that we're doing, anything else like that. In fact, one of the things that I really encourage people to do, and this really goes for any class that you're taking, but especially online, and it's not right specific to English or anything like that, and it sort of happens just by default. If you were to take a face-to-face class, you would block out that time on your schedule when you have to be in the classroom. So that would be, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 10, you're in whatever class you're in. You wouldn't be in that class, but also schedule yourself for work or family kind of duties that you might have, caretaking duties, doing the laundry, right? Big important stuff or just the mundane stuff we always have to get done. But since you're in class, you wouldn't, you know, double schedule yourself in that way. And I would really stress and encourage you as much as possible to kind of do the same thing for your online class, precisely because it's not really doing that for you. So you don't have to be in a classroom a certain number of days per week from a start time to an end time, but it is important that you block out some time that is just for doing your online work. And the nice thing about the online format is that can be a little bit flexible, right? It doesn't always have to be from 9 in the morning till 10 or 9:50, you know, like a face-to-face class would be. But I think it is important that you don't just kind of double or triple schedule yourself, that you're going to do, take care of the kid, you know, fix the plumbing, and do your online course all kind of bundled together at the same time. Like I said, we would never try to do that in a face-to-face course because clearly it's not going to work. But oftentimes we sort of trick ourselves into thinking that we can make it work for the online situation. And maybe you can fumble through a couple of things, especially if it's just informal, introduce yourself. But once we get deeper into like the content of our course and there's readings to do, there's quizzes, there's discussion boards, project assignments, you know, the usual stuff, it just becomes really untenable to not block out some time that is your school time, right? And just hope that it somehow gets done after everything else gets done. Well, we sort of know that there's always something else to do. So as much as you can really, and it's like the age-old advice for time management, easy to say, much harder to do. But one trick and very like kind of literal thing is to block out some time. Again, it can be flexible based on what your schedule is, but you still really should do it. I'll also point out that, right, this would normally be a 3-hour per week class in the 16-week format. So you'd be in class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 9:50. Well, we're compressed into the second, or an 8-week format. So now that's 6 hours per week that you're not in the class, but that would be just classroom time you'd have to devote to this particular course. That's not even counting whatever homework or outside of the classroom work that you might have. So is every single one of our units going to require like 6 hours of your time? Maybe not. Maybe it will actually. But again, it's parsed out in a way that makes sense for your schedule. So we're flexible, but it doesn't mean that you can just kind of hope that the work gets done. Or if I'm always noticing that you're posting at absolutely the last minute, or everything is just a couple of minutes apart, it's hard not to notice that, and it will, I think, ultimately affect your work. So for your own benefit, because you've invested the money and the time and the emotional energy in taking the course, you sort of have to treat yourself well and set yourself up for success by blocking out some time to actually get the work done. Okay, so anyway, you can check out our due dates here. We're just getting through our introductions, and then after that we get into the actual sort of content for our Intro to Lit class. You'll see it's sort of divided into a fiction, a poetry, and then down here a drama section. So obviously we start in with short fiction. So most of our units are going to look kind of the same. We'll have a reading. There might be a quiz or two to do. There's a little handout that I'll talk through in an announcement like this in a few days once we're actually into Unit 2 here, and then a discussion board prompt that you'll see right at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so I won't spend much more time here except that my goals for as we get underway here are A, that you feel comfortable in the course, just understanding where things are, how it's set up, our units, due dates, being able to find your grades, basic stuff like that, obviously the textbook. That you begin to feel a sense of actually being in a class with other people, so that is all of what Unit 1 is devoted to. Where you're introducing yourself by building a home page in the Blackboard system. We're also doing a little discussion board here where, again, you're just sort of talking a little bit more about yourself, but also replying to other people, of course. And there's a brief survey just to get a sense of kind of where you're at with your own expectations for this course. It's not extensive by any means. Okay, but it's important that you get all this stuff done, right? Not just get kind of buried in one folder, finish up that thing, and then think, oh, I'm finished, done. So that's the part of the orientation piece, understanding how the course is laid out. Through these activities, we begin to get a sense of being in a class together, which just helps you feel more kind of engaged and interested and develop a sense of like community, really. And then the other piece of it is that you set yourself up early on for success. Again, taking the time to devote to the course, blocking out some time on a weekly basis or as we move through the units to make sure that you're devoting time to actually doing the course work, not just letting it shuffle to the bottom of the to-do list or doing it and 30 other things at the same time. Again, like I said before, we know that wouldn't work in a face-to-face class. Why do we think it would work in an online class? So those are my three kind of overarching goals as we get underway. Not really connected with literature yet, but certainly all having to do with setting yourself up for success as we get underway with our course. All right, so as always, if you have questions, concerns, anything going on or not working in Blackboard, let me know, and I will be checking in again like this in a couple of days.